If you're hooked on Terminator 2D No Fate, that kind of game that shoves you forward right from the start with an old-school arcade feel, bullets flying across the screen, and adrenaline through the roof, then hold on tight. I've picked out 10 new games you need to check out, and they aren't just similar by accident. We're talking 2D action in its purest form, polished pixel art, satisfying combat, a VHS tape vibe, and that just one more level feeling that steals your whole night without even asking. Best of all, there's a bit of everything. Some will remind you of the classics, others have a stronger run-and-gun feel, and there are even games made for those who love a challenge and want to end up sweating over the controller. So, go ahead and comment on what your favorite moment in No Fate was. And let's get to the list, because number 10 is coming in hot. I'm Mary, and the video is starting now. Nightmare Buster's Rebirth is a remake of the canceled 90s classic, now with fully hand-redrawn graphics, refined animations, and a reorchestrated soundtrack, while maintaining the run-and-gun essence that charmed those who played the original on the Super Nintendo. The story is simple but captivating. You play as Flynn and Floyd, two nightmare-hunting leprechaun brothers who must save the Dream Kingdom from an army of monsters and the tyrant leading the invasion. The game throws you into varied settings, full of enemies, giant bosses, and epic moments, all with a visual aesthetic that blends classic pixel art with modern touches, creating a unique atmosphere of dark fantasy and relentless action. What wins me over most here is the possibility of playing in local co-op, something few modern games offer so naturally. You can face the nightmares alone or share the adventure with a friend, and the feeling of duo combat with crossfire, special attacks, and synchrony is pure retro fun, just like the good old arcade days. Additionally, the game brings new modes, optimizations for 50 or 60 Hz, and even a skill system that allows you to customize your playstyle by choosing superpowers and passive abilities. The production also has some heavy-hitting names. Takaya Imamura, creator of Star Fox and Zelda Majora's Mask, participated in the project, creating a new exclusive boss, and Harumi Fujita, composer of Mega Man 3 and Streets of Rage 4, signs off on the remade soundtrack, ensuring a top-tier audio experience. It is a true tribute to the 90s, made by people who really understand retro gaming and know how to modernize without losing the soul. Nightmare Buster's Rebirth is, in my view, the kind of game that reminds you why you love run-and-guns. It's fast, challenging, visually striking, and has that let's try again vibe that only classics know how to offer. If you love no-nonsense action and want something that recalls the best of the 90s, this is one of those titles that deserves a special place on your list. If you gave yourself over to Terminator 2D No Fate for its fast action pace, honest challenge, and that game made to test your limits vibe, Phantom Gear is exactly the type of title that will make you feel 16-bit cartridge nostalgia, but with a modern touch and its own personality. It's a side-scrolling platformer inspired by classics like Ghouls and Ghosts, Mega Man, and Castlevania, but with refined mechanics and a look that blends vibrant pixel art with fluid animations, all to keep you hooked screen after screen. The story puts you in the shoes of Josephine, a heroine who must face the mysterious ocular force and the cult behind a wave of destruction. You'll go through varied settings, facing hordes of enemies, giant bosses, and discovering hidden secrets, all with a striking soundtrack that pulls you into the game's universe. The atmosphere is one of intense adventure, but also with that dose of mystery and fantasy that makes the difference. What wins me over most here is the upgrade system. You can buy permanent improvements, swap weapons, and even choose passive skills, allowing you to shape your playstyle as you progress. Furthermore, the game encourages exploration with hidden areas, collectibles, and alternative paths, all designed for those who like to go beyond the main path and discover every detail of the map. The gameplay is agile and precise, with controls that respond quickly to your commands. You have dashes, double jumps, special attacks, and even a boxing gloves system that can be used for short-range attacks, giving a unique touch to combat. Enemies are challenging, bosses require patience and strategy, and the sense of progression is constant. Every victory feels earned with sweat and skill. The game also features animated cutscenes that tell the story between levels and a variety of weapons and powers to experiment with, ensuring replayability for those who like testing different builds. And if you're into speedrunning or extra challenges, Phantom Gear has everything to keep you busy for a long time, with rankings and objectives that challenge you to keep improving. In my opinion, Phantom Gear is the kind of game that reminds you why you love action platformers. It's fast, challenging, visually striking, and has that retro soul that few can maintain nowadays. Neon Abyss 2 is a direct sequel to the original, but with improved pixel art, more weapons, characters, and mechanics that make every match unique, all to ensure you never play the same way twice. The story casts you as a member of the Grim Squad, facing hordes of enemies and giant bosses while exploring procedurally generated dungeons. The universe is cyberpunk, full of neon, bizarre creatures, and a soundtrack that gets you in the mood for constant action. Every room is a new surprise. Tricks, traps, chests with rare items, and crazy power combinations that can turn your character into a destruction machine. What enchants me most here is the item system. You can pick up as many as you want, and they all combine to create almost infinite builds. From characters that explode on touch to those that shoot projectiles in every direction. Plus, there are Hatchmon, cute little creatures you collect and evolve to help you in combat, and a faith system that influences your journey. All of this ensures that every run is different and full of surprises. The gameplay is fluid and responsive, with intuitive controls and an auto-aim system that facilitates the chaos. You can choose from several characters, each with unique abilities, and even face challenges with up to 4 players online, one of the big new features that makes the game even more fun in a group. Progression is fast, and the feeling of power grows as you collect more items and master the game's rhythm. Bosses are challenging, with varied attack patterns and phases divided into multiple floors, requiring patience and strategy. And if you like replayability, Neon Abyss 2 offers extra difficulties, rankings, and new modes that challenge you to always improve. Every victory gives you access to new items, permanent rules, and even higher difficulty levels. Neon Abyss 2 is the kind of game that makes you feel like you're playing a modern arcade. Fast, chaotic, visually striking, and with a generous dose of personality. Make It or Die Trying is a very fast side-scroller shooter with a clear philosophy. You can play it your way, because almost all weapons are viable, and the game bets on customization and weapon accessories for you to build your combat style. MDT seems to have that game of attrition mentality. It's not just walking and shooting, it's managing the situation, positioning, and the chaos that comes with it. The devlog itself shows that the game has been gaining layers of systems, wearable armor, grenades, cutscenes, double jumps, new enemies, meaning it wants to be more than a basic run and gun. It wants to become a playground for survival and adaptation. The melee combat part also seems much more important than in many 2D shooters, and I think that's awesome. There have been improvements to the melee system, with status effects, stuns on armed enemies, and even interaction with grenades. Instead of just pressing a knife button to save ammo, it becomes an actual tactical tool, especially with the idea of parrying or sending grenades back to create an advantage mid-firefight. And speaking of grenades, the game doesn't treat them as a cosmetic accessory. There's a complete rework with separate slots, tactical and offensive, and examples like flashbangs and EMPs, including mentions of temporarily disabling turrets. This is the kind of detail that totally changes the pace of a level because it gives you area control options and ways to break the environment's defensive setups. MDT, Make It or Die Trying, is the kind of game that reminds you why you love retro shooters. It's fast, violent, challenging, and full of personality. If you enjoy intense action, precise combat, and want something to keep you glued to the screen, it's worth following the development of this game. Rose and Locket is an action platformer run-and-gun focused on fast action, style, and story. And you can already feel that the goal is to pull you forward the whole time, no fluff. What caught me right away is the contrast in the theme. Instead of a military future and machines hunting you, the vibe here is weary warrior returning to violence for a personal reason. The premise follows Rose, a former outlaw, traversing the spiritual realm of the Underwest on a journey to recover the freedom/spirit of her daughter trapped inside a locket. This completely changes the flavor of the fight. It's not just surviving the level, it's surviving with a clear emotional goal, and that tends to stick with you more than it seems. In terms of gameplay, the highlight is how it truly embraces the gunslinger fantasy. The studio describes 360-degree aiming and shooting, allowing you to pick targets in the middle of the confusion and treat the screen as a field of fine control, not just shooting forward and hoping. That's where the seasoning that appeals to lovers of crueler 2D action comes in. Mobility plus precision plus quick reading of the chaos. The kind of thing that makes you improve your reflexes and routes, not just your damage. For those coming from Terminator 2D wanting more 2D adrenaline, this focus on tense, high-speed combat is exactly the bridge. Now, where Rose and Locket tries to differentiate itself with more personality is in how it presents the world. It uses stylized environments with comic/cinematic paneling, as if the level is assembled in frames, giving it a very unique visual pacing. Instead of just a pretty tile set, it feels like every segment wants to be a scene, the kind of game that makes you want to stop for a second just to absorb the composition, even when the design is pressuring you to move on. And yes, it features full voice acting, which helps the story from becoming just text between fights. Regarding progression, the idea is very direct and satisfying for those who love a hunt structure. Advance, survive the environments, and capture bounties linked to the sins of the underworld in exchange for the chance to free her daughter. This structure creates a sense of targets and memorable confrontations, as if every major enemy were a chapter with its own face, which usually works very well in more cinematic run-and-guns. Since the game is listed as coming soon on Steam, the move is to put it on your radar, wishlist, and keep an eye out for a demo and updates. Shadow Gangs Zero is a prequel to the Shadow Gangs franchise, created by indie developer Shadow Team, under the direction of JKM Corp Ltd. It delivers an action ninja experience that recalls classics like Shinobi from the 80s and 90s, but with a modern look and plenty of personality. The game puts you in the role of Dan, the current master of the Ninja Order, on a mission to rescue his family from the clutches of the Shadow Force organization. The plot is engaging and full of twists, and the sense of ninja vengeance and duty permeates every level, creating an atmosphere that is both intense and nostalgic. Shadow Gangs Zero is an action platformer, not a beat-em-up, and that makes all the difference. You need to use stealth strategies, hide behind boxes, wait for the enemy to reload, jump to higher platforms to avoid attacks, and strike at the right moment. This mechanic requires constant attention and makes every victory feel truly earned. One of the game's great differentiators is the two-player co-op mode, something rare in titles of this style. You can face the more than 42 level segments alone or alongside a friend, making the experience even more fun and challenging. The settings range from bridges, airports, and beaches to castles and even cyberpunk themes, ensuring a visually rich and always surprising journey. The pixel art is interesting, with fluid animations and details that directly harken back to the great classics of the past, but with its own identity. The soundtrack also deserves a highlight, with songs that get stuck in your head and make the atmosphere even more epic. All of this creates a unique vibe, perfect for those who love retro games with a modern touch. If you enjoyed the frantic pace, exaggerated visuals, and the feeling of constant action in Terminator 2D No Fate, Shadow Gangs Zero will keep you hooked from start to finish.
Superstar, just on my avatar. This world is so bizarre, empty out the reservoir. Yeah, I'm taking 6 shots, yeah, straight to the face. And I wanna get lost, I'm sick of this place. Don't know how to stop when I'm feeling this way. So I'm taking 6 shots till I'm feeling okay. I think I'm going crazy.
Hares is a retro bullet hell with a unique twist. You take on the role of Captain Rabo, a brave pilot rabbit flying through colorful landscapes to sow and water carrots while facing hordes of evil birds from the Gale Gang. The game blends frantic action with a moving story inspired by the personal journey of creators Tim and Megan Bungaroth, who used their experience with infertility to create a narrative about hope and perseverance. This emotional foundation gives the game a special tone, rare in titles of this genre, making every victory feel more significant. The gameplay is top-down with simple yet challenging controls, requiring quick reflexes to dodge attacks and launch seeds and water droplets to grow carrots. The visual style is vibrant pixel art, and the sound effects and original soundtrack create an atmosphere that transports you into a nostalgic adventure, yet with its own identity. Hares has 4 main stages, each with 3 cultivation levels and a different boss, each with its own mechanics. As you progress, the game demands more skill, with obstacles like wind, rain, and lightning making the experience even more immersive. One of the highlights is the co-op mode, where you can play alongside Dirk Doggo, Captain Rabo's faithful canine companion. This mode was designed to be accessible, perfect for playing with family or friends, and greatly expands the fun. Hares is a game made with love, full of references to 90s classics with a contemporary message and a striking identity. Balefors, Cyberpunk Bounty Hunters is a high-octane 2D roguelite where you take the role of Angel or Leah, two bounty hunters in a neon-drenched dystopian city full of dangerous criminals and relentless bosses. The game stands out for its adaptive combat system. Enemies learn and adapt to your combat style, forcing you to change tactics with every run. If you prefer long-range attacks, they'll close the distance faster. If you like dodges and dashes, they'll try to corner you. This makes every match unique and requires creativity, keeping the experience constantly challenging. The story of Angel and Leah is engaging, with different motivations that intersect in New Rise City. Your choices shape the narrative and can lead to multiple endings, adding depth to the journey. The plot is branching and rewards those who explore different paths and strategies, making every hunt even more meaningful. The gameplay is inspired by arcade classics, with sharp controls, satisfying hit stop, and fast, intense combat. You can customize your builds with the modular add-on system, allowing you to create devastating strategies and adapt to the demands of each stage. It's a system that encourages you to experiment and evolve with every match. Stages are procedurally generated, ensuring no two hunts are ever the same. Each run unlocks new perspectives on the story and new challenges, making replayability one of the game's greatest strengths. The dystopian city is vibrant, with settings that blend cyberpunk and arcade action in a unique way.
Shape, find almost anything. All it takes is some time and some clarity to find your identity. It's mind over everything.
Haunted Lands is a retro action platformer, very dark and bloody, focused on aggressive combat, exploration with secrets, and high difficulty. What catches your eye immediately is the atmosphere. Blood-soaked cultists, cryptas, tombs, bizarre creatures, and a macabre fantasy tone that feels like it came from a forbidden 16-bit era cartridge. The game throws you into settings like ruined crypts and graves, the kind of place you enter already expecting an ambush, making it clear that the journey is about surviving dangerous areas full of enemies and surprises. The coolest catch here, in my opinion, is the cast. You choose between 5 playable characters, and it's not just a reskin, because each has their own skills and style. From what's described, there's a safer character for those who like to keep a distance, gunners, a character focused on mobility and wild brawling, beasts that jump, grab, and tear, and even a more magical option with lightning spells. And that's where the element that makes replay value worth it comes in. Artifacts. You find items that improve attack and defense, and the strongest ones can even change character abilities, giving that delicious feeling of a build emerging in a direct action game. Like when you realize your playstyle changed because a specific item opened up a new way to approach fights. In combat, the promise is hordes of common enemies, buffed elite versions, and several bosses. So you can expect that classic loop of learning patterns, failing, dying, and coming back better. The game also pokes at completionists. It encourages completing objectives, finding hidden secrets, and facing tougher challenges. That vibe of, okay, I beat it, but did I really beat it? If your thing is fast action, honest difficulty, and that semi-masochistic pleasure of beating an area after persisting, Haunted Lands is one to keep an eye on. If you gave yourself over to Terminator 2D No Fate for its fast action pace, honest challenge, and that game made to test your limits vibe, Phantom Gear is exactly the type of title that will make you feel 16-bit cartridge nostalgia, but with a modern touch and its own personality. It's a side-scrolling platformer inspired by classics like Ghouls and Ghosts, Mega Man, and Castlevania, but with refined mechanics and a look that blends vibrant pixel art with fluid animations, all to keep you hooked screen after screen. The story puts you in the shoes of Josephine, a heroine who must face the mysterious ocular force and the cult behind a wave of destruction. You'll go through varied settings, facing hordes of enemies, giant bosses, and discovering hidden secrets, all with a striking soundtrack that pulls you into the game's universe. The atmosphere is one of intense adventure, but also with that dose of mystery and fantasy that makes the difference. What wins me over most here is the upgrade system. You can buy permanent improvements, swap weapons, and even choose passive skills, allowing you to shape your playstyle as you progress. Furthermore, the game encourages exploration with hidden areas, collectibles, and alternative paths, all designed for those who like to go beyond the main path and discover every detail of the map. The gameplay is agile and precise, with controls that respond quickly to your commands. You have dashes, double jumps, special attacks, and even a boxing gloves system that can be used for short-range attacks, giving a unique touch to combat. Enemies are challenging, bosses require patience and strategy, and the sense of progression is constant. Every victory feels earned with sweat and skill. The game also features animated cutscenes that tell the story between levels and a variety of weapons and powers to experiment with, ensuring replayability for those who like testing different builds. And if you're into speedrunning or extra challenges, Phantom Gear has everything to keep you busy for a long time, with rankings and objectives that challenge you to keep improving. In my opinion, Phantom Gear is the kind of game that reminds you why you love action platformers. It's fast, challenging, visually striking, and has that retro soul that few can maintain nowadays.